Hello, welcome back to Political Science 400, 500C, Public Policy for Health, Security, and Resilience. My name is Nathan Myers, and this is a presentation for week 3 of the course. We've discussed in other presentations the importance of the supply chain in preparing for and responding to something like an avian influenza outbreak or potential pandemic. And I wanted to share this one additional resource with you, this article titled New Characteristics of Post-Pandemic Procurement from Omer Abdullah, that was published in 2021. The link to this is available in Canvas modules. So it talks about different evolutions in procurement that have come about based on the lessons we learned during the COVID-19 pandemic, where there were a variety of situations where there were shortages in supplies, most notably personal protective equipment. So evolution number 1, from reactive damage mitigator to proactive risk expert. So it notes that thanks to recent advances in analytics and intelligence capabilities, as well as the emergence of sophisticated insight delivery solutions, the crisis events of the last 18 months, this was published back in 2021, they've given us our first real opportunity to see the power of proactive crisis insight in action. So if you remember in other presentations, other recorded presentations, we talked about the need to collect data, outbreak data, and other types of data to be able to try to better predict when we were going to need to ramp up the production and availability of certain items. So that's kind of what this is referring to as well, the idea of using data analytics and intelligence gathering to be proactive, to say we're seeing signs of an emerging crisis, and these are the steps that we need to take to address that crisis. Evolution number 2, from supply administrator to strategic innovation driver. This talks about leading procurement teams building high-value relationships with suppliers. This is something that has been going on, predated the pandemic, but the events seen in 2020 and 2021 presented an opportunity to showcase their value to the rest of the organization. As a result, organizations are now more interested than ever in other great ways that procurement teams can create value from these relationships. And this is something that I've looked at previously. I mentioned that for a time I was collaborating with an organization called the Continuity of Supply Initiative, and their idea was to facilitate more cooperative public procurement, where you would see different public agencies and different hospitals and other types of entities going in together and developing basically these procurement coalitions, where they could then go to suppliers and say, we have all these different organizations partnering together, and therefore we're going to be ordering these materials, whether they're personal protective equipment or other types of materials. We're going to be ordering these in significant volume, but we want to negotiate contracts based on this volume and based on the fact that you're going to be creating this single contract with all these different organizations. We want to negotiate for the best available price. So, developing these relationships with other entities, developing relationships with suppliers, and negotiating for the best price, while at the same time, the suppliers, the businesses that are manufacturing these materials are also getting a good deal, because there's a guarantee of a certain amount of product that is going to be purchased during regular periods of time. And then if things ramp up and there's an epidemic or a pandemic kind of situation, then there's an understanding that the level of supply that's going to be purchased is going to increase, and the price is not going to shoot up as it did during the COVID-19 pandemic. But there will be some adjustment to the price as well as the availability of materials. Evolution number 3, from data comer to action-oriented all-star. So this again talks about sophisticated insight and intelligence solutions, transforming how procurement teams gather, consume, understand, and act on commodity and market intelligence. And the pandemic has proven to be a powerful test of how these capabilities support teams and enable value creation in times of crisis. So procurement teams saw immense value from these solutions and put them to use to act faster and stay ahead of competitors who are facing the same challenges and choices. So again, the idea of utilizing data and it's not just about sort of mining the data for potential useful information, but mining the data for better understanding of trends. We've talked previously about, for example, syndromic surveillance for infectious diseases and how you can use syndromic surveillance to look at particular signals, whether it's particular medications being prescribed or people showing up to emergency rooms with particular symptoms. Similarly, people who are working with data in large organizations, whether they're manufacturers or suppliers or purchasers, looking through the data, identifying trends. When there's different types of conditions, we're more likely to need more masks or more gloves or sanitizing equipment, whatever the case might be. So, looking at data to be able to identify forecast trends that can help organizations stay ahead of the game when it comes to procurement. So those are just some 3, quick lessons that can be drawn from this. So I just wanted to give this as another resource that you can use if you're interested in kind of the procurement side of things. And it's going to be an important issue moving forward. It was obviously a key issue during the pandemic that was underappreciated moving into the pandemic, but now that we've gone through COVID-19, as we think ahead to dealing with avian influenza, we have to think about, what are we going to need if avian influenza starts transmitting from person to person, becomes more of a significant threat. And we need to be thinking through those issues before the crisis actually emerges. So just a short presentation. I wanted to make sure to cover this as well. Let me know if you have any questions. And as always, thanks for watching.